Hello, I'm meteorologist Ted Keller. It's a Saturday. I hope you're enjoying your very, very warm day. We do have a front that will change that and cool it off here for a while. But this heads up is not for any immediate threat like tomorrow or even Monday. It really kind of kicks in around Tuesday. And I do this for different reasons. Usually it's on the severe weather side. It's either going to be severe thunderstorms, tornadoes, flash flooding, heavy rain, that kind of thing. Or on the winter side, it's going to be heavy snow or some sort of wintry mix or an ice storm. But in this case, first of all, it's the springtime version of that. No winter precipitation in this heads up. But it's more of a kind of a long fuse forecast. I'm really just kind of giving you a heads up that the pattern is changing. First of all, to bring rain to the Ozarks, which is welcome. We've been a little dry here, but it's possible it might get a little carried away. Isn't that always the case? And on this graph I'm showing you right here, the severe weather threats are shown as being south of our area, but I think there might be some room to fudge that, really. Let's just start diving in. So this is the threats here. So the green is heavy rain, and this is meant for the Tuesday and Wednesday time frame here. So we're going to get some out of that for sure. This severe weather threat is for Wednesday. It stops short of getting really into southwest Missouri or northwest Arkansas. Again, there might be some room to kind of play with that a little bit. Fort Smith would be included in that area just north of I-40. That's for Wednesday. Well, let's take a look at the overall jet stream flow. And I'm using an ensemble model, which you really should do anything beyond day 2 or 3, because it just offers you a nice little blend. It takes out the extreme single run model output that you sometimes get. So this is 500 millibars. I show this a lot. It's a general kind of middle of the lower atmosphere look at the jet stream flow. By the way, the main jet stream is far off here into Canada. So there's that. This is what's called a short wave. The colors are wind speeds. So what's happening on Tuesday is a short wave is coming out of the four corners and out into the plains. Now, a lot of times when this happens this early in the year, the Gulf, which is our source of moisture, hence also the source of unstable air and rain, the moisture that the rain would need to really develop fully, it might be a little stunted, so it needs time to come up. And these shortwave often move by so quickly that they just aren't able to do it. Now, the difference here is that there's a longer wave pattern establishing here. So while this short wave may kind of come on through, and by the way, it's not moving that fast, I think there will be ample time to get maybe a little bit of instability up here, and certainly the moisture will be enough to produce a few rounds of heavy rain, initially on Tuesday and Wednesday. If you take a look at the Cape on Tuesday, and this is late in the afternoon, so it takes all day for this to build up, but West Texas, Central Texas, and western Oklahoma, maybe up to Wichita, is going to see enough unstable air to maybe fire a few storms. You'll notice the Ozarks are zero on that, nothing unstable here. Would some of this possibly get in here late Tuesday night? I don't think so. Even if it did, I don't think it would be severe. So just keep that in mind if you're traveling out into Oklahoma. There might be a little bit of a threat there. Now, on Wednesday, the short wave is not that quick to move. There's still a wind speed maximum here. And that's important for severe weather because the wind shear bulk over the entire depth of the atmosphere, or at least up to a certain level, is enough to support what we would call a supercell. And so there are two ingredients you would need for that. Wind shear would be one of them, and ample unstable air would be the other. So let's take a look at what happens on Wednesday with this particular model, Cape. And you'll notice that, first of all, Texas moisture is building, and it's building over the Gulf too. And again, our source region for this is like this. So it's coming up on easterly winds into Texas and then curving around and going out ahead of a front, which will lie in here somewhere. So yeah, and some instability is being finally logged in the Ozarks on Wednesday. And this would be, and by the way, I used late, almost around evening, 6 o'clock for the instability. So there might be enough earlier in the day here. So again, just keep an eye on Wednesday. And then Thursday, one more day ahead, that short wave just kind of melds into the main jet stream flow. But look this, there's another short wave here. There's another wind maximum coming ashore, Oregon, California area. All this implies that the longer wave pattern, that's this here, is establishing itself over the western U.S. And that can mean, often does mean, that this will give ample time for moisture to come up and stay in the area, and the instability that's implied with that, and as part of a longer range pattern that I think will likely last even into the next weekend, a week from today, and even to points beyond that. I wanted to show you the instability on Thursday. You'll notice, and this is key, it doesn't go away. In fact, we don't lose any of the momentum built on building unstable air in Texas. It remains there because a lot of times those short waves, if they're coming down from a westerly direction or a northwesterly direction, will scour. So the front will go all the way down to the Gulf and shut off the higher dew points and the instability that can come from getting that fetch off the warm waters there. This does not happen in this case. In fact, it never does. In fact, this probably will not happen, again, through a pretty extended period of time here. So that's why I'm kind of giving you a heads up on this. Anyway, let's take a look at the learning model from Colorado State University on severe storms. You'll notice that on Tuesday, it does paint kind of a broad 5% chance here. I think this is all north of a frontal boundary, so if any severe weather does occur in this at all, it would be probably hail, and this part of it would be at night, okay, Tuesday night late. And then on Wednesday, kind of a broad brush from northern Indiana through Illinois. The Ozarks definitely included in that. The 15% risk shows up in around the Columbia area. Again, a lot of that's probably going to be hail and rain. I don't think there's much of a tornado threat. Now, the SPC, that's the forecast on the right here, is that yellow area. So if I just kind of superimpose that, they're really kind of saying that really the interpretation of that is that they don't think enough moisture is really going to come northward fast enough ahead of that short wave to do much damage. This particular search of model data actually indicates maybe slightly otherwise. We'll see. That's why it's called a heads up. Anyway, on Thursday, again, broad brush from Pittsburgh all the way down to Texas on severe weather. Low risk, but at this many days out, that's usually all you get. And then on Friday, again, not much changes from Pennsylvania all the way down to Texas, just kind of a broad brush, 5 to 15% any severe weather probability. So again, keep all that in mind as you go into the work week. Now, let's take a look at the rain threats. So it's really not going to rain significantly here in the Ozarks till Tuesday and Wednesday. Tuesdays is this area here. Wednesdays is here. There's an overlap between the two right in there. Springfield's right there. So that's the first, I guess you could say, round of excessive rain. By the way, excessive rain in this case means what's the probability of it exceeding flash flood guidance. So this first level of green is a slight risk. So just keep that in mind. And of course, it's been dry here. We need the rain. And that'll work day 1 and 2, but once it starts going beyond that, then you have a little bit of an issue. Now, let me add up rainfall expected over the next 7 days. So that would take us into the next weekend, and you'll notice a broad brush, 3, possibly up to 5 inches of rain falling over that period. You already know when it starts. First round will be Tuesday. That'll go into Wednesday, and likely other rounds after that. So that'll do it for this heads up. Just want to, again, just kind of give you some general guidance. I certainly will have more details on all this, and we'll issue another one of these coming up. Maybe not on Sunday. It depends on what I see, but probably on Monday right before the rain sets in.